I'll try to cover most of the points that you have asked, but I must say that I was very happy to hear most of the questions, because that shows that your inquiry is getting subtler and subtler. That you already know about the gross side of chakras, and now you want to know the subtler forms. Now the first question was, which should be taken up first, is the one how the chakras come into human beings, what time, what stage of life, because that should be the first question. This question is something like if you ask what time a primule comes into the being of a seed, it's something like that. That a human being, when he dies, as I have told you before, he does not die fully. Only a part of him dies, which is mostly the earth element, and the rest of the elements remain there. The rest of the body disappears, and we can't see it because it is not a complete human form. It goes on decreasing in size, and the Kundalini leaves the body and stays outside the body. And the Atma, what we call the spirit, also leaves the body and stays outside the body, which is the remaining body. The constitution of this new body is different from our constitution. We can say a light that is extinguished has all the body except for the light, but the light goes out of that body. In the same way, in a human being who dies, the spirit and the Kundalini leave the body, but they are around that body. And it's a great procedure that follows, which is fantastic. It's unbelievable how the body disappears into different elements also. But first of all, let us see, when such bodies which remain like that, they go into what you call the Pretalok. There they become seeds, or they can become smaller and smaller and smaller, till one body forms, a ova and a, which you know as a sperm. In one body it is formed. I don't know if you have seen the division of chromosomes, how it takes place. It's a complete division. If the chromosome is like that, it's a complete vertical division and a complete separation takes place. That is why marriages and selection of partners, all these have a great place. For ordinary bodies, it does not matter. For the divine, they take place in such a manner that there can be at random connections established. For example, a ova of one may combine with the sperm of another. It happens at a very lower stage of evolution. Among human beings also it happens like that. For some people who are just not very evolved, we can say. But mostly the ova rejects the sperms. It only accepts that sperm which is meant to be accepted. Now it is such a minute work, it is so fantastic that it is unbelievable. We have no idea as to how God works out. It's absolutely tremendous that even the ova goes on rejecting the sperm that is not the second part of itself, and that's how so many sperms are wasted and so many ovas are wasted. So you can imagine that there is a tremendous machinery which is working out this. Especially people who are realized, even they are reborn, and all the forces of the divine combine to see that this ova is placed with a person who is ultimately going to meet the person who has the proper sperm, so that there is no problem as far as the meeting is concerned. And the divine takes all the care of these great souls. The work of the divine is very, very fantastic, and it is beyond human conception to understand how the awareness of God can look after all the minute small things of the world. You cannot do even a small thing like attaching this to this one unless until you pay some human attention. So you can imagine the attention of God who invades so many seeds in this Mother Earth and gives you such huge big trees. I mean, we have taken them for granted, but if you watch, you will feel this fantastic dynamic force behind it, which thinks it, which does it so perfect. But we think that it is all automatic, and that's how we can bear it, and that's how we can bear Sahaj Yoga also, thinking that it is all automatic. The second question is, when did the chakras then are in the body embedded? They exist in the body and they go on existing. Of course, they get corrected every time the body takes birth and goes into a new seed. And the Kundalini also. Every birth you are born is watching as to what you are doing, how your chakras are developing, how it is working out, and through the method of balancing you or parasympathetic system, or you can call universal unconscious, the chakras are brought to its proper shape and to its proper condition by evolution. A man makes mistakes, he makes searches, he searches from one place to another. For example, he may start search in money, then he starts his search in power, then he starts his search in love, the carnal love, or he may start his search in some emotional expressions, then in art and all those things. Ultimately, he finds that the search has not been all right, because he has not been able to achieve any state of joyous existence. And because such, these chakras go on evolving and understanding. Now we have to know that these chakras are absolutely living entities, because when a person is supposed to be dead, that time all the deities are not in the working state, but the living man has the chakras which has got the deities which work out the different functions of the chakras. It's a very, very subtle working, and these can be called as the reflecting mirrors at different levels of our awareness, where the deities which are placed in the primordial being, the Virata, are reflected. And they, once awakened, start working out the plans of the divine. In some of the human beings, when they are searching these chakras, find that the person or the subject is going to the extremes of things. And this comes because a human being has got freedom to choose. And in his freedom, he goes to the extremes. And by going to the extremes, the chakras get damaged. Going to the extremes is what we call is sin. To be in the center, to lead a moderate, simple, balanced life, and stick to the values of our sustenance is the best life. But if you start going to the extremes, then the sin starts. And the sin, in the Bible it is written that the wages of sin is death. So the death occurs. Now the death actually, doesn't take place, but what happens is that a part of the chakra gets damaged. It can be a physical hankering, it can be mental, it can be emotional, it can be spiritual, it can be anything. If you go on working out an imbalanced solution, then these chakras get spoiled at different points. That's how your chakras get spoiled. The chakras are according to our awareness in different states. For example, for a doctor or for all of us, we know that we have plexuses in our body. We know we have different plexuses. Like we can say pelvic plexus, we've got solar plexus, we've got aortic plexus, we have got cardiac plexus, we have got cervical plexus, we have got optic chiasma, we've got limbic area to act, or we can say pituitary and pineal body at optic chiasma, and then we have got limbic area where we have got certain points which are active. This every doctor knows because they have even tested the limbic area of some monkeys, and they found that if you excite the limbic area of the monkeys, they feel very joyous with electricity. So all these chakras in the body of a human being are only felt as gross expressions, which we call as plexuses in the parasympathetic and sympathetic channel. They are all connected, as I have told you, that the sympathetic comes from both the sides and creates the central channel, and that is the parasympathetic. So it depends on the balance of both these sympathetic that the parasympathetic works out well. When the balance breaks up, any balance can upset both of them, and when it is completely broken, then they become on their own, and that is how it is the complete so-called liberation of man from God's grace. Once he is completely liberated from that grace, he starts falling into the state of, as we call them, Rakshasas. He goes to hell. He goes to the other kind of awareness where there is no feeling, no consciousness of conscience. He doesn't think twice. He can kill 100 people without even feeling bad about it. He loses all his emotional side and also he loses all his wisdom. What remains in him is his own ambitions and his own desires or his depravity. And he goes on without feeling any compunction or any binding from the divine or his own dharma. So these chakras are very important for us because first of all they give us the balance for our everyday existence. They give us God, and we can think of subtle things and abstract things. This all comes through the help of the chakras. If you ask me if the animals have the chakras, they have, but they don't have all of them separated. Sometimes they are confused chakras, and all the chakras are not separated from each other, and they are not all open out because of their evolutionary process is not yet complete. But some animals I've seen have got a awakened kundalini, and they are realized animals I've seen. So it is possible even for animals to be very dharmic than men are, and sometimes it is surprising how they can discriminate better than human beings can. Apart from that, some animals I've seen have got a awakened kundalini, and they are realized animals I've seen. So it is possible even for animals to be very dharmic than men are, and sometimes it is surprising how they can discriminate better than human beings can. Apart from that, animals are kept under the bondage of God, and whatever is their sustenance is done by them. They don't have to think about it. For example, a dog is a dog, a cat is a cat, and a tiger is a tiger. So only the human beings can be a dog, can be a scorpion, can be a snake, and can be a saint. So it's only possibility in the human being that you can find all the animals existing side by side, and can be any time these animals can come out, and you may be surprised at yourself the way they suddenly jump out and start barking at you. So that is what human beings are, because whatever has been our past is within us. Whatever animals we have been is within us. So all that is there. But whatever we are going to be also is there. And whatever we are going to achieve is also there. For human beings, the future, past, present exists, but for God it does not. So for Him to plan and to organize and arrange is very easy stuff, because if you do not have such demarcating things, you just organize things much better. And His methods are because of His own, I should say, awareness, a status, a almightiness, I can say, or it's just His nature that He's like that He can manage things very well. And you cannot explain them with one event after another event, how He has managed and how it has happened. He does it just because He is capable of doing that. He need not do it all that with understanding or thinking about it as human beings do, because He does not have to think either, because He is that, you see. He is the power and He does everything. He is the consciousness, so He does everything without putting any effort into it. And it's a very different state, which perhaps you can understand as Sahaj Yogis, that just you move your hands and you find the Kundalini moving the other side. Now you may say, why is it moving after all? You must think about it. You are realized, so you can do it, but not a person who is not realized. If he puts his hand like that 100 times, nothing is going to work out. Only you can raise the Kundalini. The reason is your awareness is different and his awareness is different. Your powers are different and his powers are different. So in the same way, God, who is all power, for Him even moving His finger, He can move the whole universe. After all, He is God. And that's why for human beings it is said that you better have faith in God, because that's the best way you can solve your problem. If you go on thinking about it, you'll all go crazy. So we have to go to a point where we can understand Him, otherwise we will all go crazy understanding Him, and we'll all become mad thinking what all these things is beyond us. It is so much. So but because in Sahaj Yoga now your awareness has come really to such subtle form, one can understand so many things and can understand the subtler ways of God's doing, and also understand what is possible for you through subtle methods. We can talk of subtler things, but talking this to anybody who is not a Sahaj Yogi would be something madness. They wouldn't understand a word what I am saying. It's only meant for the people who are Sahaj Yogis. So we came to a point where I said that in the gross they are expressed as plexuses in the human being. Now this is known as the gross way. Now the subtle form you have seen, the Sukshma as they call it, the subtle form. The subtle form exists in the human being, which you can see, you have seen it. The subtle form as energy when it starts pulsating, you have seen the pulsation. But this subtle form is in two forms, you can say. One is a Sukshma and another is Ati Sukshma. Because in the Sukshma you can see, and a person who is that? Is a realized soul. If you are a realized soul, then you see even the chakras. In the sense you can feel the chakras on your fingers. A unrealized soul can see the pulsation of the Kundalini and the different chakras with his own eyes. He can. If he watches it clearly, he can see the different chakras clearly. And you as Sahaj Yogis can feel them on your fingers and also can feel them within yourself in the collective consciousness. There is, we can say, in the second stage of Sukshma, there are three stages. As you can say, Sukshma, Sukshmatara, Sukshmatam. Three things you can see. The first stage you see is on your fingers. It's a Sukshmatara, you can say. But with the eyes you see is a Sukshma. And with your fingers or on your chakras when you feel, it is, you can say, is Sukshmatama. So you see them in three forms. If some of the people do not feel it on the fingers, can feel it on the chakras also. So you can feel it in three ways. But there's a fourth way, where we can say it is in the Karana state. That's a higher state where a realized soul can feel it, who is born as a realized soul can feel it. And in that state, they just know, like a computer. They don't bother as to which is the one, and they don't put hands or anything. They just feel it. It is so. As you have seen in my granddaughter's case, she just knows what is what. Just you ask her, she'll just immediately say, this is this, this is this. Like, it comes plain to them, absolutely, this is this. Now, you may say that, how do they know? But the procedure becomes such a compact thing. I mean, it just happens to you. Like, you pinprick me here, and immediately the hand goes back. You see, it's sort of, the whole reflex action is so quick that we can say there's no procedure as such, but it's just a reflex action. In the same way, it acts as a reflex action, so that you see, you don't have to worry about the purpose of it. That is the state where you say the Karana state. And the Mahakarana state. Now this is the third stage, and even in the Karana state there are three stages into which one feels it. Now that is, I would say that I need not explain, because that's beyond you people, but if you are born realized, you will understand that the imbalance in a personality, see, of the three gunas, is immediately perceived by a born realized person. Immediately perceived. He can see through. You see, that's the wisdom he has gained in his previous lives and previous births. And immediately they can see the imbalance that comes in. You see, And whatever they say is so wise, and they understand because they can see the imbalance of these three gunas, and according to their own gunas, whichever are prevalent in them, these three stages exist in them, the way they say. For example, some people have say are more, say, the tamoguni, means the ones who are very emotional people. Among them, some are very emotional. So they see a person through the emotions. You see, the way they feel in themselves. They call it a feeling. I had a feeling for such a person. I felt that way. So that is the word they use. But supposing the person is rajoguni, he has been more towards going through, say, he has been working on the rajoguna, like praying to Surya and praying to doing gayatris and praying to all the heavenly bodies and also the 5 elements like that. If he has been doing yagyas and all those things, he is rajoguni. Such people see them as lights, as electrical forms, so they see them as colors and things. You see, this is so one sees it as an emotional thing, another sees it as a color, or we can say any form. They see them as forms or colors, and lights they see as electrical currents, and some see them as different flowers. Now they are feelings, and also they are these rajoguni expressions which you can see with your eyes, see the creation itself, but they are also feelings. So those who can see feelings more, a person who has been very loving and who has dealt in this side of life, who has been a bhakti man, you can say a dedicated man who has been praying to God and crying for him and asking for his help and weeping before him with all his heart. Such a man will feel a person more, and a person who is more dedicated, say, to forms and things, will see them in a different way as forms. So then they see them in colors, because they are also colors. They are also colors and they are also sounds. So the sound is also one of the elements, so they can see as sounds. Now they also see them when the Kundalini moves. You see, they see the sound moving. And they also saw, most of the people who have seen this have been the people who have been meditating through this, we can say, the Patanjala style of meditation, where they were single people, Parshurama style. And they saw these forms, and they saw the movement of the Kundalini through the chakras. When it passes, it creates a sound, a word. And so they studied every sound, which sound was created, what sound was created, what color was there. And so it is a one-sided knowledge of the right-hand side, of the people who went through the right-hand side, that they say that this thing was created, that thing was created, and then this sound was created. Then they formed the language. It's the original Sanskrit language which was formed. That's why it is called as a Devavani. And that's why these deities understand Sanskrit the best. When you say Sanskrit mantras, you see, they absolutely understand them very fast, because this has come originally from there. They studied that and then it was done. But other languages in India, most of the languages, were taken from Sanskrit, converted into something else, brought to another form, and then another Sanskrit came in, Prakruta, Sanskrit, and these 5 languages, Magadhi, Paishachi, Maharashtra, and all these languages came in. So it is a derivation. Other languages in other countries that came up, you see, was also, of course, the expression of the Kundalini, but they learnt it more from, say, the words came from more from the outside. You see, the sound of the air flowing, they call it S, like that. And from the nature, whatever they learn from outside, because the approach has been more objective. So objective approach is always little less than the subjective, because subjective is from inside and objective is from outside. So when you go from the objective, the deviation into the main sounds that are coming from inside. You see, the purity is little bit deviated. As you know what is objective and subjective approach. So this has happened with some languages. Some languages are very, very close to Sanskrit, and but they took a turn according to their gunas. Now, the Sattva-guni, the center part of the Sattva-guni, as they call it, you see, they are also the people who have Sattva-guna more in them. They see chakras in the right form. But Sattva-gunis should not be confused with the people who believe that if you eat this, then this is Sattvic, if you eat that, that is Tamasic, or if you say this, this is Sattvic, or if you do not kill anybody, then it is Sattvic. In this, the right perception comes in. For example, you have to explain why Krishna killed so many Rakshasas. It was absolutely Sattvic. It's dharmic, absolutely dharmic. Why Durga killed so many Rakshasas? She had to eat the blood of so many Rakshasas. So, you see, whatever is dharmic, the wisdom, the right path, comes through such people who are neither too much this side, neither that side, and they know exactly what is the right way of looking at life. Such born realized people. This is a very, very far-fetched stuff. There are very few. I would say, perhaps you can say Buddha and Mahavira are the only two human beings who have gone through many lives. From one extreme to another they went, and ultimately they found out that going to the extremes is not proper. Still, they have not reached the complete height of an incarnation. So, a model was to be created who would be all the time giving a fixed point for a person to rise to that. And these are the different models which are placed within us on our chakras. And these models are perfect models belonging to those chakras. So, according to the nature of the person who is watching these chakras, one sees them and gives them importance also. Now, for a person like Shankaracharya, Shankaracharya is a born realized soul many a times. He is not born realized once, but many a times he is born realized, and he is in the center of it. We can say one of them, we can call him. So when he talks of his Muladhara Chakra, he has already done the path many a times, and now he is going to the subtler and subtler and subtler form. So when he says that the Muladhara Chakra is opened out, then you can walk on the water. It's correct, because he is at that subtle stage of ascendance. One has to ascend once, second time, third time, fourth times, and then you see you reach a stage where you start ascending. But even then, it is not so important to walk on the water. What is so important to walk on the water? It's nothing so important, because you see, it's easy. You can take a boat and walk. It's nothing so important. So, walking on the means also on the right hand side. Is the right hand side to walk on the water, or say to fly in the air? All this is the right hand side things, which also can be done with the help of a boat or a an aircraft, or even we can use a boot. For that we can use a dead entity, and we can make him take us to any place we feel. Which can be done. The CSP business is only that. So it can be done by other methods also. So it is nothing important that you see, it's sometimes very confusing when we see that some people can fly in the air. They say in the subtle form they have gone. You don't see the body moving, but you see that they can feel it. The difference being that the people who are realized can guide themselves, and you can see them bodily moving. But those who are not realized, they find their subtle being taken out, and their consciousness going with them somewhere else, and they are sitting on top of the house. Some they are watching themselves and they are sitting there and they see themselves sitting down like that. You see, these phenomena take place. That is absolutely nothing but a soul being ridden by a dead entity. So there's nothing great about it. That is also a right side stuff. The left side, as I told you, is the emotional feeling about things. You see, you feel tremendous love for others, and sometimes, people, I would say Sainath was one of them who had this left hand side just with him, and he was love personified, and he was so much full of love for people that once there was a woman who was very poor and she couldn't celebrate her Diwali day, and he couldn't bear it, so he gave her some water, and the water became like oil, and she burnt lights in that. And it's a fact, you can do that, it's possible. And with this power you can increase food, sort of thing. You see, you increase the food stuff, you are going to some, like Christ did it. You see, that's also one side. So all these things come in a personality. Some people have one more, another have some more, and some people have all these qualities. Those who are incarnations have everything. They can do everything that they want to, and they will use whatever they want to do. If they don't want to use any powers, they will not use. So it depends on. So it's nothing important. Supposing you see something, all right, there you can see it is a good thing, but that doesn't mean that you should stick on to those things. But you must try to do what you don't see. For example, now you see the light coming out of somebody's head. Now, that's one side of looking at things. Another is that you can feel the another person. When you feel the another person, how he is, how he needs you, how you are coming closer to that person, can you feel that compassion for him, that he is not where you are? That also is another balancing stuff. But this should be done. This is very dangerous for some people who try to be helpful to others when they are not themselves solidified properly. So I would again warn you that when you start seeing lights and all that, try to remember that you are going on one side, you are seeing more. Then be more compassionate in your tongues, in your talking, in your behavior. Try to have more love. Means right hand side is more developing, the left is less. It's the heart. So you have to raise your kundalini from right and left. But it's all mechanical, it works out. It's only thinking about it. Oh, I have to develop my heart more. The balance has to be there. This also should be there, the feeling for others. Now the feeling for others cannot be explained as I feel for others. If somebody is crying anywhere, I get tears into my eyes automatically. Even if you are not crying and if you are feeling hurt about things, I get this hurt feeling within myself. Like that. You see, you should really feel that hurt feeling and that desperate feeling and that cry. Of course, it comes to some people too much, but they do not have the other side. So you should have both the sides and both the balancing characters within you. So those who are seeing things more should not go on bothering about what they are seeing. It's coming their way, all right. Because they have done that kind of a tapasya, so they see things. And it helps Sahajog very much because you can see for yourself who is realized, who is not realized, this thing, that thing. But still the dryness is in you. So if it is in you, you should try to develop it. So whatever you don't have, you try to develop that. Whatever you have, don't be satisfied with that. That's the best way you can rise. You see, those people who can see things should try to feel others. Those who can feel others should try to see things. And it should work out that way. So this is what it is. And in the Mahakarana state, where the Mahakarana is, that is a very, very subtlest form of state where the chakras which have got the deities are connected with the sort of reflection of the deities of the Virata. Now these deities in the Virata are reflected in you, are awakened in you, and they start moving and making the whole thing work out as it should be. Up to the Karana state, it is very good. But Mahakarana stage is the stage where it is the real, what you call the object and reflection. When you can come up to the object, which is a very deep state of mind where you are with the object. And when you are at the object, you are very close to an incarnation state. So, we can say that as far as you people are concerned, you should try to understand up to Karana state, because beyond that, how to jump and how to go is not the question just now. What's the use of telling you about something which is a far-fetched stuff? So we'll talk about it later. But this is how it is the four states of Chakra. Now, दूसरा प्रश्न हुआ ना उत्तर का Chakra. He says you see it anti-clockwise. You do see, because most of the people who have seen it on other people. And when you see on other people from the back side, you see it on the anti-clockwise side. But if you see it from the front, it is clockwise. That's why.
What I say, you feel the chakra moving one outside your body. Feel the chakra moving.
Yeah, so it depends on, what I've just now told you, that the chakras, say for example, for an ordinary human being, the chakras are nothing but ordinary plexuses. For a realized soul, it is more than that. So the more you move into a greater wheel of your own awareness, that's how the chakras start manifesting. Now, for example, my chakras are working all over. This is the difference. So it depends on the awareness of person. Dasa Deepasent Tasat Prakash. As much as the light now says, that much is the extension of the light. As much is the power. So that's what it is. So शरीर जे आहे, शरीर हे म्हणजे ग्रोथ आहे, पण आधी ग्रोथच होतं. वाइब्रेशंस फार आने लगे. अच्छा, अब हो गया चक्र पे बात करें. Now, is there any question left on chakra? Yes, number of petals are also growth stuff, you see. Till you go to a certain stage, there are petals are being created because of there's a little mathematics about it, little mathematics, and all this mathematics has been worked out in a human being how it is. But these are the, we can say that now, for example, in a person now, a light is there. Say 25, what do you call it? 25 volts. 25 volts. Now, 25 volts are to be converted, say, to say 60 volts or something like that. So you have to see the dimension into which the person is, that portion is going to grow. You see, it's a big mathematics about it. It's dimension to which that can grow. You see, and into what sphere it is going to penetrate. For example, now the Muladhara Chakra you can take, for example. Now, Muladhara Chakra is actually 4 petals because it covers the 4 sides of the human personality. It's a very abstract calculation. It is the 4 sides of the personality, and the 5th side, the movement in the 5th dimension, doesn't take in the Muladhara Chakra. It takes above the Muladhara Chakra. So the 4th dimensions are shown by that. These are the different dimensions of a man. At those levels, how many dimensions is touched by these petals? It is calculated like that. In my book, I have given most of these in very great details as to what are the dimensions one touches in this thing and how far you go. But the same Muladhara becomes only 2 later on. But it is such a subtle and sharp tool, which is very, very, which penetrates just like this all over. So it depends on the, you can say in a machine, you have different types of bolts and different types of screws and with different dents. Now, what is the calculation is an engineer can say why is it so. So, you see, it is a very detailed work and it's all worked out because the dimensions into which a human being will be going, and all that is worked out, and on that chakra only these dimensions you achieve. So, it has a meaning, but it's not only 4 chakras. It's not only 4, it has got many petals inside, and it's a very interesting one. Actually, in Muladhara I've written a big chapter complete. How many folds are inside and how these things work out, and how many folds, what do they suggest, and how far they open out. Because It's all a dimension which is worked out. For example, if you take a banyan tree, the seed is so small, a banyan tree has the smallest seed. Now why is it so? And why is it so microscopic? Because it is so dynamic. So it is all worked out like a capsule, you see, and it's a capsule which is to work out this dimension, it has to work out that dimension. So it is a sort of a rather a calculated stuff which I have described. I have only described Muladhara really in the full this thing, because it made such a big volume of one Muladhara chakra that I gave up about others. I have just mentioned about them. But only Muladhara itself, when I started describing, it became such a big, huge thing. I gave in, I said, no, better not do other ones. But it's quite a complicated stuff, you see. And you see, God has his own stage or style of planning, and we can't question him. He does it according to his own whim, you know, his own style. But he does, his whim has understanding. Everything has. You will find that sometimes, you see, if you try to study that, if you ask me certain things, I try to answer it in a different way, you see, because there are his ways of doing things, and he understands, and that's how he does it. But still I have tried to bring out at least Muladhara Chakra, so that human beings must understand that how complicated they are made, how God has been so careful to place their Muladhara so well, and how he has put the force there, how it's a living machinery, how it's working out, so that people should understand the importance of their chakras and importance of their being, how important you are. You are not ordinary people. Even if there's a ordinary tape recorder, we are so careful about it. How much we should be careful about our own machinery, which is being created in ages with such great understanding, with such mechanism. Every chakra, if you take up, even if you take up 3 yugas, you won't understand one chakra. It is such a tremendous working inside. I have of course given only the description of it, and the reason why is a stage which will make you really mad. But I've tried to explain in that. You have read my Muladhara, did you? It's quite elaborate stuff.
In Delhi, the question was, what is the purpose of life? Buddhism said, purpose, of all this incarnation is to go in nirvana, which is nothingness, where nothing happens. Then, in the Christian tradition, it is also perfection, which is conceived as a total union with God, which is immobility. Now you said it is not like this. You are going to incarnate. Liberation is not just something which is immobile, somewhat. You are going to incarnate again and again. Then the question I'd like to raise in connection with the chakra is, what is the purpose of life? I understood before that the supreme thing is to be united with God, whatever this means. And when I'm united with God, there is no movement anymore.
But that stage I never cancelled it. That stage is not today. See, when I said it that just now you have to incarnate again and again, you are not at that stage. But when the whole thing, you see, nothing is wrong in any one of these. When they say there is a day of judgment, but before that God is going to give you a chance. He is going to give you full chance to improve yourself, go to that position. You see, like that we can say that first the trees are brought into being by sowing the seed. Then the trees grow up. Then there are flowers. Then the flowers are again, they become seeds. Then again the trees. Then again this thing. Until they reach a certain stage. Till they have completely ripened. Then they remove the whole thing. And the whole thing becomes the Brahma itself. And whatever is the waste matter is thrown out. So ultimately it's the union. But the union of your being with God is a much later stage. First of all is the purification point. You see, for your purification you are to be born again. You have not reached that stage where you should become Mahanirvan. Have you? If you become, might be you might land up in hell. So better not try that. See, you must understand that just now at this stage you have to go further, purifying yourself till you reach a certain stage. You see, where when you reach a certain stage, at that time God has given you enough chance to improve yourself. Still you are Rakshasas, then you are not going to be tried anymore. But it's quite near, I must say. You cannot now allow it to take the chance. It's quite near. One of the halali, one of the butchery is going to be very close. It's very close. I would say it can be any time. So you be careful. It's just there. So many have to be neutralized because they are just very troublesome. which can be quite close. So be careful about it. So you see, everything fits into everything else. But what happens with every religion? Part of it is said. So this cuts out the other. Supposing I say you have to go to this room. Now if I say that you have to come 2 steps that side, and then I say no, you have to come 3 steps this side. These are all connected stuff. But because it is said only 3 steps here, so you say then in that religion it is said 3 steps inside. And what about those 2 steps? I have to tell about them also. Because I have to tell about all those 2 steps you have to take first, I better not tell you about these 3 steps now, because you will put your eyes, oh very nice. It's not going to come in a plate. You have to work it out consciously. Understand now?
Yes. Just now you said that after death, this Atma and the Kundalini will separate out from the
Body.
element. But then where do the chakras go?
Chakras exist within you. Chakras is a place. They just exist within you. You see,
within the earth element.
Huh?
Within the earth element.
No.
How it goes with the...
No, they are in the body only. They are in the body. The body itself like a seed. You see, you become like a seed. But they are potent. You can't see them. Chakra is a space.
But then chakra and Kundalini must be living together.
No. You see, when it is something like a light going out and the tube is still there. It is like that. The Kundalini, but it stays on top of the head of the person. Only difference is supposing the light goes out and stays nearby. You see, the potential is there in the light. It is like that. The place for the light to pass is there.
And one more thing you said about when these parasympathetic and sympathetic, when they separate out, then that particular person goes to the extremity.
Extreme.
The extreme. And in that case, what happens before our realization, whether they are superimposed one over the other, the sympathetic and parasympathetic.
No. They are already separated in the gross, they are separated, inside also they are separated, but there is a void.
This is the only time.
Because yes, that is the only thing. You see, the Kundalini gets enlightened, or sort of she gets a little enlightened, we can say, when it faces me and then it starts rising, or when you people, because you are also Sahaja Yogis. It doesn't happen with anybody else, you will be amazed, So now, what is the other question? Should we?
We actually do this sort of thing, try to activate our chakras by giving clockwise or anti-clockwise movement. But in fact, chakras, they turn horizontally in the body. How the chakras move in the body.
Yes, that is true. They are moving horizontal. They are moving horizontal, but when you move them like this, you see, like you have seen the wheels.
Why not we do this way?
No, it doesn't work out. It works out better this way, because you see, these are the things that are emitting, you see.
Yes.
If you do it like this, it goes down. But this way these are moving. You can move this. You have seen that in a watch. You have some like this parallel and some are like this. काय प्रश्न आहे का कसं आहे ठीक आहे काय प्रश्न आहे का कसं आहे ठीक आहे अच्छा आता दुसरा काय प्रश्न आहे
different gurus have different effects on different chakras. They have damaging effects on different chakras, different gurus. How do they do it? And in spite of Kundalini arousal that happens, then what should be done?
You see, what gurus do is they use different chakras for introducing into the sympathetic nervous system some entities which they have controlled, you see. They do not control many entities as such, but what happens? For example, now I would say during war, many people died just like that, you see, killed and this and that. In those countries, those souls, you see, they were never never had a human life, and they were treated just like animals, and they were very much tortured. So they had that feeling in their minds that we should also torture these people. So when they come, they die, you see, they do not die really, and they do not get into the Pret Loka. They stay in the atmosphere. And that's why wars are very bad things, because wars create such human beings much more with accidents, and people who are very depraved in life, very dissatisfied, who are doing all kinds of depraved actions and secretive things and all kinds of horrid things. You see, all such people, all of them, when they die, they do not really go to Pretaloka, because they don't think of their salvation, but they are just thinking of their lust, greed, or sort of we can say possessions, those who are grabbing things, thieves, and all sorts of people. We can call evil people and satanic people. When they die, they find, oh, they become much more subtler, and they can be better off if they act in a subtle body. So they use their subtle body for acting into people, and such people are easily available. So these gurus, what they do, that they themselves are evil geniuses, and they have a way of capturing those people, and they use them, and they introduce you through your different chakras. For example, Ravana had the capacity to speak, and in his speech he used to introduce Rakshasas into the human beings in Ceylon, otherwise imagine in Lanka. People should never fight Rama, because at that time the sensitivity of people was so great that they knew that Rama was an incarnation. They were not gross as today they are, that one has to tell that, oh, here I am the incarnation. See, that time it was not Kali Yuga, so they knew he was an incarnation. And so many of them, I mean, some of them did not, but quite a lot of them knew, and despite that nobody could oppose it, because their mind was captured by these entities put by Ravana, and they fought. So it was so, even at the time of Krishna, people knew who he was. At least they had quite an idea. Even Kauravas knew about it. But this Kali Yuga is a wretched thing. Nobody sees anything clearly. But those times were not like that. People knew who was an incarnation, and they understood it. And that time also, these people had to use some sort of a way of putting them off, and they used this method of enticement. And when they used this method of enticement, in that use, they learned also subtler ways, which they are using in the Kali Yuga very well. They are actually Rakshasas, and they know these methods, how to entice people. There are so many ways of doing it. And when you bend your head before them, that is the best time when they can put it into your ego, and they can finish you off once for all. So that's how they do it, and you are no more yourself. First of all, they act on your heart. You become a nervous person. Your hands start shaking, your feet start shaking. They act on your heart chakra. You lose the power of Raksha, which is the basic point of the heart chakra. वो जो आपके इसमें आया है वो देते गए लोग. And then once you start losing the grip over your nerves, you find that as if somebody is doing for you, and if you take somebody's name, you start jumping, and you don't know anything. Is an experience. You see? There are so many things they do like that. 1001. But human beings as a whole in the Kali Yuga, instead of improving, has gone down absolutely in his conception of divinity and in everything. I mean, he is a hopeless case otherwise, but by God's grace, Sahaja Yoga may save him. The way it is, I mean, he is very, very blunt. He cannot read. He is very insensitive, and he carries on all kinds of his malpractices, thinking that he is a rare saint ever born. You see, that's another great quality of Kali Yuga. This is the problem. They have no conscience left now to tell them that this is wrong or that is wrong. They have killed. Everywhere it is so. तुम्ही शाळेची मुलं आहात का? अच्छा. अशा हात करून बसा आमच्याकडे बघू. आता दुसरे प्रश्न आपण विषय
or alternatively music can they rouse the Kundalini.
No. See, all these 5 elements are very important in our body, and they are the body of the chakras also, as I have told you. So what happens that when you sing the music, the vibrations can go through the musical sound and can excite certain chakras. You see, for example, for the Hridaya chakra it is very good, or also for the Vishuddhi chakra it is very good. Not for all the chakras, but certain chakras it does. But supposing you say a mantra plus the sound, the beautiful music, and the realized soul, then it is very effective. See? For example, Ganesha, you can excite him with a beautiful shloka. If you are a realized soul and if your Ganesha is correct, you can excite the Ganesha of another person very easily. I mean, such a person can do it. So, music, sound, all these things have an effect, and we are now using that method very extensively. That supposing now we go in a mass meditation and many people are there and some chakra is caught. Say Vishuddhi is caught. I can correct the Vishuddhi by just putting my finger on this like this, because this has the sound. This is the chakras. There is a micro sound which is carrying the vibrations, you see. Actually, the part of the vibrations is the micro sound also. Micro light, micro sound. And you can say all the 5 elements are micro there. So when I put my finger, the micro sound can carry the rest of them, and the person can be corrected. We can do it, especially Vishuddhi. Very easy to correct Vishuddhi on that. You can correct most of the things, but certain things are very easily corrected. Vishuddhi, which is responsible for the sound, made from the sound element. As we have seen that water element is very good for treating people for the lower chakras, because up to the heart chakra, because the water and salt can help you for the Navi chakra, and because salt is the earth element, and what you call it is the essence of the ocean, and essence of the ocean is in the Bhavasagara. So we can use salt water for clearing the lower chakras. We can use light for the eyes, because this is made out of the prakash, the light element, like that. You see, different things can be done with these different elements. If you use them, you can make all the dirt or all the obstructions which are collected in your particular chakra by putting them back into the same element and cleansing them out, so the element takes it away. For Mother Earth also, she has so many elements in her that she can take away so many of your problems which are troubling you in your being because of some imbalance of the Mother Earth element. You see, this is all due to the imbalance of these elements in you accumulated more beyond than what you wanted. That's why I say the extreme of it. The Tattva is expressed through Sri Ganesh, and Sri Ganesh is the form of you can say the purified principle of the earth element, and is the same. I mean, you can say in a flute you have 2 notes. The first and the last are the same. In the same way, in a human being, the 7 notes, the first one is a Ganesha and the last one is also a Ganesha. So these 7 notes are the same, and these 7 notes make the earth element, and I mean are not completely earth element, but started with earth element, purified, where it loses its earth element problems completely. It is Parabrahma. I mean, it becomes all Brahma, because earth element is outside is the earth element, but inside is Dhara, is Dharana. It is the power to sustain. It's the power to sustain, and that power is the purest form of earth principle. So you see that you become later on. Gradually, the whole earth element drops down, and you become that. So it is the Dharana Shakti, as they call the power of sustainer, is the Ganesha. So like that, in every chakra you have a very subtle and subtle-most point, and that subtle-most point is the note that the divine is playing at that point, because every note, it has a different frequency, a different intonation, you can call, a different sound, which helps in the melody of this universe. So like that, we have 7 chakras and the 7 notes, and there are different notes, but these notes then create permutations and combinations, and that is how a chakra gets into a swara, and then it becomes a, you can say, a sound, and from sound it becomes a word, and from word it becomes a language, and like that it goes on, and the same subtle form starts becoming something else. For example, if I have love for my children, how I express it? I make a house for them, I make a place to live for them, I cook food for them, I make a bed for them. You see, is a gross expression of that subtle love I have. In the same way, whatever is subtle within us is expressed outside with the help of the elements that are outside, to express the subtle through our gross behavior or gross material things also we do. So it's the same subtle which is expressing outside. But then we become so gross later on that we forget the inner part of it. You see, for a mother may create something, all these things, and then she'll become so possessive of her children. She'll think, I've done so much for my children, that she wouldn't even think for why she has made it. She forgets the love part of it, and she becomes nothing but the gross thing. She'll start scolding the children for even breaking for a small thing here and there. You see, she does this for love, and then she forgets it. That's what is an extreme behavior. Extreme behavior means from the subtle, you get to the gross and the gross and the grosser. Once you become grosser, you are dead. आता काय प्रश्न?
समोर मनुष्य नवीन आला जागृती घ्यायला,
हा,
त्याला प्रथम दर्शनी समजा बाधा हे कसं वाटायला काही लोकांना दिसती बाधा आम्ही जागृती घ्यायला.
हा, ज्यांना बाधा दिसते, those who can see badhas are on the emotional side. They can see the badhas. They are, you see, though there also you can see two types of people. Those who are already themselves in badha, they can see badhas very clearly. They can see the dead persons. Those who are already badha can see that another person has got a badha, because they are in the collective subconscious themselves. So they can see. And a person, say, can see the one who is, supposing who is a drunkard. He can see. A person who is drunk can see a badha in another person, because he is in the subconscious state. He might say. But some people can achieve a state in an emotional way that they can see a badha clearly, if they are realized also, emotional state people. So those bhakti people can see a badha there. But even the supra-conscious people can see a light coming before them. They can see somebody standing before them like a light, and they'll say that there's a light coming. They might get fragrance, or things like that can happen. See, they can. They are called as tanmatras. Is the causal principle of all the elements. Causal tanmatras means for earth the causal principle is fragrance. So supposing somebody has done lot of search in the field of, say, earth element, so such a person can get lot of fragrance. That. It is a variety everywhere created because of their different searches and because of their different seeking. तर तुम्ही काय म्हणाले, बाधा कशी ओळखायची? नाही, ज्यांना दिसते त्यांना दिसते, ज्यांना नाही दिसते त्यांनी वरी नाही करायची. You see, badha, if somebody has a badha or not, you can, if he has agya and a heart, it's definitely a badha. And you just ask the person to put the hands before the photograph, he'll start shaking. Normally he shakes. Huh? काय असतं? भूत बाधा असते. See, I don't know how you should make it out, but it's very easy. You can make out. They cannot put their eyes towards my photographs. If you ask them to close their eyes, their eyes will start flickering. Hands will start shaking. Eyes will always flicker. Slightest badha it will show on the eyelid, like this. You see, badha can be of many types. Some people just have a, for the time being. Some people have a permanently settled. Some have backfills, you see. So, you just can't say which is. जाऊ द्या, सोडा, कसलं काय सगळ्यांना एकाच्यात काढून टाकायचं. सगळं ते नको जास्त करायला. सहजयोगाने बाधेला जास्त लक्ष द्यायचं नाही, तेव्हा मान्यता मानायची नाही. कारण असेच होणार तुमच्याकडे अधिक चिकटणार तेच. असलं की त्यांना म्हणा फोटोवर बसा, रगड रगड बसा म्हणा फोटो, माताजींना बघू द्यात. यू जस्ट डोंट वरी अबाउट दिस थिंग. हां, तुमचं क्युअरिंग वगैरे ठीक आहे. बाधेला जो मनुष्य म्हणजे यू सी दी थिंग इज people think that there's only one type of bada is emotional bada. There can be both types. A person who is very egoistic also is dominated by somebody else. Any abnormal behavior, you see, who is not a normal person, can come from anyone. हां, काय तुमचं काय म्हणणं आहे? कोणत्या वर्गात आहात तुम्ही लोक? हां, बघू बरं, या इकडे या. लेट अस गिव्ह देम शिव आणि काय फरक नाही आहे. शिव आणि शक्ती एकच गोष्ट आहे. आता असं झालं, सन आणि सनलाईटचा काय फरक आहे? माणसाला ती अक्कल असते फरक करण्याची. आपल्याला माणसाला ते दुसरं समजत नाही, देवाला हे समजत नाही. देर इज नो डिफरन्स बिटवीन अ लाईट, सनलाईट अँड सन, मूनलाईट अँड मून. So there is no difference at all. It is only the human beings who think there are two stuff.
That differentiation when we come into Dvaita,
then only we start thinking. It is in Advaita. It is one and the same thing, you see. For example, now this bangle is beautifying my hand. So what is the difference between this bangle and the beautification? Is the quality of the person. Is the quality. It's the we can say the vyakta and avyakta, we can call it. Huh? Not essence also. Essence means you will take out the rest of it and you say this is all useless. It's not that. It's in every, it is all there. It's one. What is the essence of sunlight and sun? Sun has no meaning without sunlight. Sunlight has no meaning without sun. It is not essence. It is everything that. You can say water and ice.
Existence and essence. I mean, I just refer to two categories. The philosophers of no, it's not that.
No, it's both have existence, both have essence. There is no difference at all. You see, it is human beings cannot conceive it. That's the trouble with human mind, because it is in a Dvaita. Human beings cannot see. You see, they think of two things always.
it's not a person.
You see, it is perception is not possible for you to perceive it, but you can understand it by analogy. You see, many things human beings cannot just perceive. Just cannot, because you have a limited brain, you have a limited awareness.